talking about people being fleeced and everything out of money and paying exorbitant prices for tickets and don't even know what's what anymore and who pays what for what ticket. Saw a recent story, I think it was in Consumer Reports, that there is some sort of class action being leveled at Ticketmaster for disclosure of all the various fees that are added to your tickets when you buy them that aren't necessarily clear for what. You know, and a ticket's like $35, but by the time it gets through the computer, it's $57. Taxes and fees? What are those fees exactly? Where are they going? What are they for? Who's getting them? What's the point? They want some full disclosure on that. Where that goes is anyone's guess, but that was an interesting article that was sent to me this week. And also this from Rick Friel, who sent this to me as a regular listener, from The Guardian. Birmingham, England is starting to embrace its heavy metal legacy. For those that are not aware, Birmingham, England is basically the birthplace of metal. Both Sabbath and Priest came out of there. And now a new exhibition about Sabbath cements the Midlands' reputation as the home of a global music phenomenon. It's a story here in The Guardian. It's taken a while for Birmingham and the surrounding Black country to own up as the inspiration for much of Black Sabbath's music, and also perhaps for the whole cultural phenomenon of heavy metal. This summer, however, the Midlands is to reclaim its musical legacy with a series of celebratory events and a flagship exhibition devoted to Black Sabbath, born 50 years ago in Aston. Commentators have started to notice that although heavy metal is as big a global musical tradition as hip-hop, the Midlands had done nothing to show that, said Lisa Meyer, the founder and chief executive of the Home of Metal Project. The ultimate aim of Home of Metal is to build support for a permanent collection in Birmingham that would serve as a focal point for international students of the kind of music that spawned millions of headbangers. Symposiums, exhibits, permanent exhibitions. I'm just scrolling through the article. She goes on to say, this is cross-generational. Heavy metal has never really been in fashion, so it is never out of fashion either. That's a great point.
Very good.
It has that sense of the outsider about it, and that draws people who feel they don't fit in.
Yeah, but where's the bench? Birmingham gave them a bench.
This is what Midlands is the area of England that Birmingham is in. So, okay. Yeah. So that when they say Midlands, they mean Birmingham. There's a few other cities around it, I guess. But, yeah, this is an interesting article. I'll tweet the link out for this as well. This is pretty interesting stuff. But, yeah, so they're trying to make basically the point of it is that Birmingham, which has kind of shunned its role in basically creating heavy metal, is now going to embrace it with exhibits and, as Ed said, a bench
and a bridge.
And anything else to sort of embrace their history, especially with Sabbath having formed there 50 years ago.
That tiny little bridge.
Yeah, the bridge. All right, I ran late in that first break. Let's do another quick break. We'll come back. We'll get other news from Ed right after this.
Volume. Music talk that rocks.
Alice Cooper, Pink Floyd, Kiss, bands like that.
Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
All types of rock, not just the hard stuff.
Sirius XM.
Big fan.
Volume. Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
So popular.
Essential listening for any rock fan. It's awesome. I listen every day. Sirius XM's
The Truth and Rock.
Volume.
We may have some time for some phone calls today. If we do, the number as usual is 844-686-5863, 844-6-VOLUME. Try to grab a few before we wrap up on a Monday. By the way, I will not be on tonight on for the second show I normally do on Mondays on Hair Nation because I'm going to be on a plane. The minute after I get off the air live for this show, I jump to the airport and get on the plane to get to L.A. for the invasion tomorrow. So no show tonight on Hair Nation for me, and no show next Monday either, because next Monday is a start of a vacation week for me. Scheduled to be back live for that Monday only show on July 8th. Just a heads up on that. But we'll try to get a few calls in here today before we have to wrap up. And I do want to get into that really fascinating story about how Ed Sheeran is about to beat U2 for the all-time highest grossing tour by doing reasonably priced tickets, no upcharge meet and greet, no VIPs. Really interesting. We'll do that in a little bit as well. Coming off the weekend, though, there's always some stuff to talk about in the world of rock news, especially. Let's talk to Ed Robinson right now and see what he's got for us. What do you got, Ed?
Eddie, I need you to pick a debacle here. I have in my left hand the story of the ongoing saga of the 2008 Universal fire. In my right hand, I have the Keystone Cops-like antics of the Woodstock 50 folks. What do you want me to lead with?
Oh, my gosh. It's probably been a little longer since we've heard about the Woodstock, so let's start with that.
Well, organizers of the Woodstock 50 Festival lost their appeals case late last week with a 4-judge panel in New York State ruling that the $18.5 million that they were seeking from one-time financial partner Dentsu Aegis will not be given to them, money they had claimed Dentsu had, quote, stolen. Now, while many would consider this a death blow to the much-beleaguered fest, the Poughkeepsie Journal reports that organizers have filed for a new permit because, remember, they lost the permit for their original site in Watkins Glen, upstate New York. Now they're trying to file for a permit to hold the Woodstock anniversary event, as there are one of two. This is not the one happening at the original Bethel site. That one's locked in stone. But this is the one run by Michael Lang and Company. They've applied for a permit to hold the event at Vernon Downs, which is a horse racing track in Vernon, New York, just outside of Syracuse, New York, about 2 hours away from Watkins Glen. One caveat, though, reportedly, the capacity for this new site would only be around 1/3 compared to their original plan.
Well, that's not really that big of an issue because they still haven't put tickets on sale.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's not like they've oversold it. They can't oversell it because they didn't put it up for sale yet. That's the only saving grace in all this.
But what does this mean to the supposedly 3 days' worth of artists that they have booked for multiple stages? You can't, in any capacity, have the same sized event that you were planning this entire time.
Well, look, if they're on the hook to pay those people and they're getting paid no matter what, even if they can't recoup their money by having the capacity that they need, that it was originally scaled at least they'd get some of it back.
I mean,
at least they'd be able to recoup something.
They're not going to stick Robert Plant on a stump with a guitar and say, here, play for a bunch of people and money.
No, I mean, the thing, I mean, you're now like, 6 weeks out from when it was supposed to happen and not on sale yet without a site? I mean, I know they're just trying to save something of this thing, but man, does it seem crazy.
It is supposed to happen August 16th, 17th, and 18th.
All right, so 6-7 weeks out. Crazy. What else, Ed? What is the Universal story?
Well, the first lawsuits, as we prophesized last week, the first lawsuits have come a-flying in the wake of the recent expose on the 2008 Universal Studios fire. Now, this is according to the New York Times. Soundgarden, Tom Petty's ex-wife Jane, Courtney Love and her band Hole, Steve Earle, and the estate of Tupac Shakur lead a class action lawsuit that has been filed against Universal Music Group, seeking damages from the fire that allegedly destroyed countless master master recordings. According to the Times, the suit accuses Universal, the biggest record company in the world, of breaching its contracts with artists by failing to properly protect the tapes. It also argues that Universal had a duty to share any income received, this is important, as settlements from the fire, including an insurance payment and a legal settlement from NBC Universal, the parent company of Universal Studios at the time. The claim seeks damages in excess of $100 million.
And at the end of the day, people still just don't even know what's lost here. I mean, that's the biggest thing. They just don't know what the hell has happened. They don't know if their stuff has been impacted or not. I read another article about this over the weekend saying that these could have been safety recordings, that there could have been safeties made in other locations. Nobody really knows the extent of all this. That's what's crazy. The archiving and the library and the logging of this stuff, it is very much up in the air as to what was actually in there and the repercussions of it. Yeah, it's really crazy. But people are just learning about it. The artists are just learning about it. They're filing lawsuits before they even know where their stuff is, if it was even impacted. I guess that's kind of like a preemptive thing. Maybe I need to go do a little investigative reporting since I'm going to L.A. in a few hours.
There you go.
Report back tomorrow.
Stick a big press sign in your hat. I'm here to investigate.
Chewing on a cigar. What do you got here? What's going on?
Eddie Trunk he asks the big questions.
Anything else, Ed?
I got a bunch of things here. Well, let's get to this as we head into the break. The Rolling Stones kicked off their rescheduled No Filter Stadium tour on Friday in Chicago at Soldier Field. For a guy who underwent heart surgery, back in April, Mick Jagger did not miss a beat. I swear, Scout's honor, this man is inhuman. They broke out the 1989 Steel Wheels track, Sad, 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 for the first time in about 17 years. It's pretty cool.
And they were doing Mixed Emotions, too, which I love that song. That was in the set, too.
Yeah. So, yeah, Rolling Stones back at it.
Let me tell real quick now, because I've opened this whole thing about the lip syncing stuff and how it's got to stop and all that. So I've alerted you guys, the fans, to keep an eye out for it, call it, let's stop it, right? But somebody sent me a video.
What do we have, amateur sleuths working for us now?
I got a guy who sends me a video, listener. And he had to be in the last row of the stadium date that the Stones did. And it's this grainy, awful video. He sends it to me. He's like, Eddie, look, I think Mick might have been lip syncing. So I don't think there's any way Mick Jagger is ever going to lip sync live. I just don't see the Stones. The Stones have like 10 extra musicians on stage with them. That's how you do it. They fill out the sound as needed. There's no way an old school guy like Mick Jagger, the real deal, is going to have to or would ever be lip syncing lead vocal. The guy, he's so far away that between the delay towers of the sound and the grainy video, it was just like, I was like, no, man, Mick is good. I really think I'd really be stunned if there was anything to this. I think you're good with Mick.
In a stadium.
In a stadium on an iPhone in the last row of the thing, you're not really going to know what's going on up there. But it was a nice try, but I think Mick is still very well in the clear, as we would hope and suspect.